And I can tell you I'm super blessed. I have the best wife in the world. We have an amazing life. Building a family is the coolest thing ever. And my prayer for all of you is that you one day can do that.
That's so cute.
It's honestly the most joyful thing. And I've had some pretty amazing experiences. I've been very, very blessed. Very lucky, you could say, but very blessed is the word I would use. And the greatest joy I've ever had is coming home to my little daughter running up to my leg. There's nothing that even comes close to it. Not flying on Air Force One, not meeting with presidents. That pales in comparison to your little girl coming up and squeezing your leg.
The question is, will Christian men commit to what really matters, to the divine, to the beautiful, to the good, with courage and with purpose? The next time that you are confronted with saying the hard thing and the honest thing, and you know it comes at a price to your flesh or yourself, you say the true thing. The next time you see somebody who is suffering or is being treated unjustly and you can intervene, you do something about it. You stand up to the bully, you put your own neck on there, and you choose what is right over what is comfortable. The most masculine people that I know are the ones that go into places where they are not welcome, they were not invited, that they will be booed off stage, and they still proclaim the truth. That's what it means to be a man. They know that if men and Christian men start to recommit to the truths and the promises of the Bible, that this country can and will be saved. I hope we'll do it. God bless you guys. Thanks so much.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Redoubt. Happy Sunday. I hope everyone went to church today, provided God his rightful worship. So tonight, probably going to go into some of the updates on the investigation of Charlie Kirk's abhorrent assassination. Also, general martyrdom of Christians throughout history. The responsibility to defend and form communities within your church, possibly the death penalty. Discuss that as well. Maybe some moral self-defense. But before we get into that, how's everyone doing tonight?
Fantastic.
Great.
Happy to be here.
Good.
As well as you can be doing after a pretty rough week.
Yeah, it's definitely a little somber.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a crazy 3-4 days now since the assassination of Charlie Kirk Wednesday morning, and just the absolute, it felt like a normal week. It felt like everything was normal, and then the absolute vile display from these people online celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. I think that was probably one of the most striking things that really woke a lot of people up, was not just the assassination itself, but these people's reaction to it and their celebration of it.
Yeah, I mean, in the wake of the stabbing, which felt close to home here, because that was in Charlotte, where the lady, Ukrainian immigrant, was just ruthlessly stabbed by a black man for no reason, and then Charlie Kirk getting shot right on the heels of another school shooting, which I basically know nothing about. I haven't even researched it, which is on me. But it's just been completely occluded by the Charlie shooting. It's been a hard week.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, with Irina murdered explicitly just because she was white and she just happened to pick the wrong seat in the train, I guess. Because when they released the actual video of it afterwards, that insane man is sitting there just screaming, I got her, I got her, I got that white girl, I got that white girl.
Well, I think he also said she called me the N-word as well.
Did he say that?
Right, which is just objectively not true. I don't know if he pre-planned to say that. But also, there is an update on that today, I want to say today or yesterday, he got removed from jail and sent to a private hospital where he is undergoing examinations to see if he is fit to stand trial. So there's a very real possibility to that man with 14 priors who murdered Irina gets ruled unfit to stand trial and gets to spend the rest of his life in a mental institution of some sort somewhere as a ward of the state, and will actually escape justice. Yeah, the opposite of justice. Your tax dollars will keep him alive.
I tell you, that video made my blood boil. I saw the still before I saw the complete video of just her kind of looking in shock. And that was powerful, but it didn't have nearly the same effect as when I actually watched the whole video. and just, yeah, you just see her slump over, and no one does anything. And I mean, it is just heartbreaking to watch.
Yeah, just the state of terror in her eyes, and the helplessness. Yeah, it's very
completely helpless, and nobody around. The thing that always sets me off too is when not a single person around does anything, not a single thing, to a lady crying, covered in blood. She eventually slumps over and is laying on the ground, and people just waddle out next to her.
And you know, people always say, well, you never know what you would do if you were in that situation. But it's like, I know I wouldn't do that. At least I sure hope to God. Like that is, it just can't even fathom that amount of nonchalance. Even just
zero empathy.
Yeah, it was shocking. I know we maybe we shouldn't be shocked these days, but it was truly shocking. So yeah, and then Kirk gets shot. So I guess it'd be worth just kind of going around and saying all of our impressions of Charlie Kirk prior to the shooting, and just kind of our experiences with him over the years. Because in my view, I'll just go first. I've known about him since he came onto the scene, as far as I know, and at first he definitely seemed like a Ben Shapiro imitator, and he definitely didn't have his debating act together. He was a little bit awkward, kind of annoying, and so I kind of checked out. Oops. Hopefully you guys can still hear me, but I lost my audio.
You're good.
There we go. So I kind of checked out watching his content for a while, just because I figured I kind of knew what it was. But then every once in a while I would see clips of him pop back up on Instagram or YouTube Shorts, and I was a lot more impressed with what I would see. It seemed like he'd really figured out his debating, his facts were good, and he had it seemed like in every video he would be mentioning God or sharing his faith, which is, I think, apropos to the topic of martyrdom and potentially, why he was murdered. I just think that it seemed like he matured a lot over the years in his time in the limelight, and that's a great progression to see, because a lot of times you can see people that, especially when they're young, take off like that, just go downhill. I think it's very challenging to manage that kind of fame and notoriety, and to continuously learn and grow during the time. So, anyways, it is. I think we are. I mean, not to mention all of the great things that he did for the country, just in terms of turning point and at least politically motivating the right in ways that I think are very positive for the country. So a lot of respect for him, and I think that we're much worse off now, and we definitely owe it to him and to everyone to keep fighting for what he fought for.
Well, he also had a major influence on younger minds, especially minds in college and whatnot. And I think he was pushing them in the right direction. Yeah, he was very moderate, but still doing good, I think.
Yeah, so for me, it was interesting because there was a very short time in my kind of like political worldview where Charlie Kirk and some of these other guys were really influential on me, like 2016 time frame. But it was really for a very short window. And then I quickly was like, oh, they're just kind of like normie, like boomer politician-esque. And so for the better part of the last 7-8 years, I basically disregarded the Charlie Kirks or Ben Shapiro's or a lot of the more mainstream right wing. But since his death, since actually being able to see and look at a lot more of his recent content, you can absolutely see the progression that you've been talking about. And we actually agreed on a lot more, and he was definitely a much better voice than I thought. Now we had disagreements going back for lots of different topics over the years and whatnot, but it's undeniably that he put his faith first, which was awesome to see, which you're never going to get from somebody like Shapiro or something like that. No. And so his effect on college kids, on younger kids, his influence, his reach, has obviously been felt.
Yeah, and before any of his political influence and stuff, he was definitely an absolute moral man, and his principles definitely aligned with God. And at least all the content I've seen, he'd always preached the gospel. So it's
it was. I mean,
good.
it was a major part. I mean, even the South Park parody of him, in all of the stylistic debates that they did that were imitating Charlie Kirk's style of debating, he would throw in the South Park video. I think I would throw in all kinds of Bible verses and scripture, and I think that's really cool that was something that even they noticed when trying to make fun of him, that this was something that was central to his debating style, was central to his message, was sharing the gospel regardless of who he's talking to. And I think that's cool.
Yep.
Well, where would you like to move on to next, I suppose, in that vein?
Should we get into some of the updates maybe on the investigation?
Well, we can definitely move to there. Especially as we talk about martyrdom and his faith being so central to what he did, and quite literally in that intro clip talking about, like, if even if somebody doesn't want you to say it, even if you're afraid to say it, that's when you have to speak up. And that's what he did. He spoke to people that disagreed with him constantly, and put himself knowingly in harm's way to do so, which is just a sign of the times that we're dealing in now. But so the updates as of today that I've seen are essentially that there seems to be a greater correlation of entities and organizations that may or may not have had prior knowledge of the Charlie Kirk assassination by Tyler Robinson. It appears that he was in communication with several different Discord members on different Discords, and perhaps even had them helping him out directly in some ways. So it's not tied to any major organizations as of yet, but it does seem that he was openly communicating to other members of these Discords, and they even at one point jokingly said that they should turn him in and split the $100,000 reward after that was offered, because there was nearly 3 days, or 33 hours, day and a half basically, between when the actual event occurred and when he was taken in. So these people knew about it, and it's just the way that this is discussed among these individuals is very disturbing. So a little bit about Tyler Robinson that would probably work well as a primer on him is that he had a fixation with furries and the furry communities, and allegedly lived with his trans boyfriend. So I know that the left and some political pundits and Redditards were attempting to frame Tyler as some sort of ultra right-wing Groyper type, where they assassinated Charlie Kirk because he was not far enough right. That just seems to have no basis in reality whatsoever.
No.
The man was a anti-fascist furry. He had a Furfinity account from what I have found, and he has a live-in trans boyfriend. So to call him right-wing is a
Is that a girl or a boy?
On that picture on the top right you're talking about?
No. What is a trans boyfriend? What does that really mean?
It's a man pretending to be a woman.
Okay.
Yeah. No, well, yeah.
Yeah.
So
much confusion.
News for you. You are gay. I did see somebody trying to say, well, no, actually he was straight because his boyfriend was trans. So he was a cis white male.
Yeah.
Well, no. Because they were claiming he was a cis white male because he has a trans boyfriend. Oh, okay. So that's kind of the person that we're dealing with, and that's where these degenerate leaks, again, allegedly come from. Tyler Robinson, Lance Twiggs, and 20 other UVU trans student chat log September 6th through 13th. So this was before the assassination, a week leading up. And also, some other things that do need to be investigated is we saw the day of, there were many individuals saying something big is coming tomorrow. Different, I forget the name of the other individual trans person that had made a song saying Charlie Kirk dead at 31 a month prior. And also the day before saying something big's about to happen. Sky Valledo or something like that is another trans individual that is part of these groups in the UVU. So there does appear to be prior knowledge of something going down, and as we go through some of these chat logs, you'll kind of get the gist of that. So this is a complete chronological timeline of all known Discord messages in both the private Robinson Twigs chat and the 20-person group chat. So September 6th through 8th, at 8:15, Tyler, this is the assassin, got to grab the rifle from the drop point near Orem soon. It's set up in a bush stash, easy to find. Got a dope scope for long shots. Context, this is allegedly the optic and rifle used in the assassination. This other individual, Luna, says, sounds intense, be safe. All right.
What was the scope?
Well, it was, I don't know what specific scope that it was. It appeared to be a 3-9, a 3-12, kind of like an older style scope that somebody had just thrown on to their dad's sporterized rifle.
It was a Mauser of some sort, right?
It was a Mauser
30-06.
M98. Now, I have not seen whose the rifle actually was, because there's some theory that the rifle was supplied to him by one of his friends that had it set up with the scope and everything.
Right.
Or... So there seems to be some cooperation.
Isn't that what this is implying? This text chain? I always took that to mean that it was...
Gotta grab the rifle from the drop point near Orem soon. It's set up in a bush stash, easy to find, got a dope scope for long shots. So this is from Tyler on September 6th. So I think that's what it implies, is that it's perhaps not his, perhaps somebody else is furnishing him the weapon. Now, if any of this stuff is true... you could see Tyler getting the death penalty and 20 plus individuals getting charged with accessory or conspiracy, or directly charged with the same thing if they actually helped in the commission of the crime. So you could see many people get life in prison and Tyler himself get the death penalty if they choose to pursue it. 9:45. Taylor, engraving the casings for this one. Hey, fascist, catch, and some OO for fun, like notices bulges OO, which is, again, a furry thing, which my chat had to inform me of because I have no idea what this stuff means, and I honestly don't want to. Gotta make it my signature. The details, bullet customizations on the casings of the 30-06. Summarized, Robinson shared a meme of Kirk with a red X over his face, captioned clown. Luna replied with a paw emoji. Furry slang. Part of ongoing anti-Kirk banter in their shared servers. September 7th, 2025, 2:30 p.m. Tyler, checked the UVU spot yesterday. Rooftops perfect. Gonna climb up early, wait for Kirk's trans comment bullshit. Got the stream ready on my phone to time it.
I'd wondered about that.
This is alleging that he was waiting for a trans comment to come up before pulling the trigger.
Which did happen.
Did happen.
I suspected as much, but I'd never seen anything to confirm it until now. That's interesting.
Which, describes scouting the UVU rooftop, maintenance access 200 yards from the stage, plans to use the live stream or X or whatever they were streaming on that day. 2:35, need to make sure I can get away after. Going to be so many people, cops will be swarming. And the way that he chose to get out of there is this. I think there's more. There is more. Okay. Your Luna responds, "You're wild, LOL. What's the plan after?" Tyler, after I ditch the rifle in a towel, swap shirts to the flag one, and bounce in the Challenger, they won't know what hit him next. Headlines, baby. No exact quote, including gaming talk, Twigs Overwatch tournament, and a furry server argument about a banned user. Robinson sent another Kirk meme, target on head, captioned soon. Little ominous. Tyler added Tyler says at 9:20 a.m. added Bella Ciao lyrics to a few casings, makes it poetic. Kirk's gonna eat it when he talks his shit.
So just for context for Bella Ciao, that's an anti-fascist Italian song, right?
Yeah, during World War II,
I believe
that was
so,
the song
yeah.
that they would sing.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that is the point of that.
Mm-hmm.
9:25 Luna, poetic, huh? Don't do anything stupid. I'm not sure what you're saying there in this Discord. Tyler, not stupid. It's for the cause. Got to monitor the drop point after to make sure no one snags it early. Now, I had seen other people alleging that some of the communication between Tyler and this other individual or his trans boyfriend is that they had somebody else watching where the rifle was stashed to make sure that he could actually pick it up on the day of, because it was already loaded nearby, is what I had read about it. Again, all of this stuff is kind of in flux and alleged. We don't know exactly what is and is not true until there's like a real official report. And even then, you're not really sure what's actually true, to be fair. But this is kind of the story as it goes. So this alleges that there's somebody else directly watching the firearm or the spot where the firearm is before he goes and picks it up the morning of. Not stupid, Tyler responds at 10:45. It's for the cause. Gotta monitor the drop point after to make sure no one snags it early. This is in the 20-person group chat on September 11th, so this is the day after. This chat began after the FBI's 12 p.m. MDT release of suspect photos, lanky male, dark clothes, sunglasses, flag shirt. So now in this group chat, people are saying, basically pointing it out, like, Tyler, that's you, bro. During the manhunt, Robinson used a John Arbuckle, Garfield's owner avatar, with a confused face. The server included St. George High School peers, gaming buddies, and furry trans Antifa Discord users. Messages are frantic, meme-heavy, and show Robinson deflecting suspicion. At 1 p.m. MDT, user 1 unidentified says, "Yo, Tyler, where you at?" with the skull emojis, links to the FBI suspect photos. 102, Tyler responds, because he has not been caught yet at this point. LMAO, that's my doppelganger trying to get me in trouble. 105, MDT, user 2, unidentified. Tyler killed Charlie, exclamation point. 108, user 3, unidentified. Y'all see the reward? 100K from the FBI. We could split it if we snitch. So there does seem to be, at least from what we're seeing now and what's being reported, some sort of organization, not to a militia-esque level like we've seen with like the Doll Squad or some of these other organizations where it's a real militia, or like, well, Doll Squad, if you're not familiar, is a dedicated trans-only militia. We don't know. Again, these chat summaries allegedly were pulled from a Fox News report, so I'm not sure what exactly is true or not. Allegedly, the boyfriend has saying that he was in communication with some of these other people as well, so there's some corroboration there. I would not be surprised if the times are mixed up, or if there's different people, or exactly who's involved in all of this stuff. But the bones of it seem to be true, that he was in communication with other people about the events before they actually took place. Which, if true, and as this leading report insinuates, that they are going to be going after a lot of other people and organizations.
Let's hope so.
I did see, I think this was on Risky Krisky's story, but it was a Utah-based trans militia group, Armed Queers, Salt Lake City, which trains individuals to use weapons to defend trans right, deleted its account the day Kirk was killed. So, coincidence, maybe, but relevant, yes.
And they deleted their account? Because I think I did see... I probably don't have it now, but I think I did see something from them where it was essentially a banner they had that was essentially saying, like, no, we have to fight back and kill people to protect ourselves. And it was some sort of banner, and it might have been from that Utah-based group. Mm-hmm. And I'll see if I can find it really quickly. But it might take me a little too long. But I also did pull up the The report that, in case you miss it, yes, Irina's killer, was released from jail and is now in a private hospital outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And there is just a heartbreaking picture to anyone who has, if you have a sister, a daughter, anything like that. This poor girl doesn't even realize that her life is over, and not a single person around her cares. But you can go down and you can see the affidavits and the reports here that he has been released to a whatever sort of facility that this is, though. This guy, yeah, of course. The district judge who ordered the psychiatric eval for Brown is Roy H. Wiggins, Democrat, and his reasoning is heavily redacted. So he's sending him to Central Regional Hospital, Butner campus, for 60 days to determine the defendant's capacity to proceed. And if he gets adjudicated as mentally defective, he will never be tried for the murder of Irina. Fantastic.
Fantastic. You know that what happened to her is what would have happened if Daniel Penny hadn't stepped up and done what he did a couple years ago.
Well, remember what they did to Daniel Penny, though. I thought at the time that he was going to go to jail for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Because, I mean...
Even just the prosecution has a chilling effect, for sure. Yeah, there is no guarantee you're going to get off. Yeah. It is just inconscionable what we've... Yeah. How
but, I mean,
insane the society is.
Something that I do want to say, though, and I know that this sucks to be that guy, but even if you are going to go to prison, even if you are going to be, marked for the rest of your life, you should still be Daniel Penny. Okay. You should still be that guy who does it. Absolutely. Doesn't matter the consequences. You still have to do the right thing, right? Because it is your job to prevent something like this, because this girl had absolutely nothing. She had nothing and no one. And now she's gone for absolutely no reason.
To love is to be willing to give up your life for other people. And that may mean giving up your physical life right now, or maybe giving up the rest of your life free, But that's the extent to which we have to love people.
Especially as men. It's our duty to defend innocence. 100%.
Yeah. As Shadowforce says, they want to scare people into doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and that's what they tried to do here with Charlie Kirk, which I suppose we can kind of get back into that a little bit. But they called Charlie Kirk a Nazi, a fascist, an alt-right, evil.
He was a right-wing centrist. I mean, he was...
That's the problem, though, because they say that. Now, I got a death threat yesterday for covering this stuff. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I posted it to my Instagram. But no, I got a guy saying, actually, I can just pull it up for you guys. It's easy enough. But I've gotten death threats before, so it's not out of the ordinary for me. But I am actually further right than Charlie Kirk, and they're calling him all this sort of awful, evil stuff, but... I mean, this guy's saying, keep spitting hate and you're not hard to find. Sorry. Keep spitting hate and see where that leads. Using the Italian thing. Okay, whatever. Whatever, man.
Is that the Italian one, or is that more, looks like he's examining his nails? I think you're right.
No, I think it's the Italian one, not the nails one. Yeah, you're not hard to find. Well, I mean, probably not that hard to find. C'est la vie. But that's the point. They wanted to kill him for speaking out, and then all the people coming out and saying, rest in piss, you will not be missed, celebrating his death. That a lot of them are now jobless today, and better off for it, I would say. But that shows you what these people actually think of you and your generically conservative views. Even if you are a moderate, even if you're a centrist, you are not far enough left to be allowed in public with these people, according to them. Which is why I've seen a lot of people come out and just say, it's like, I don't think that we can coexist with these people as a nation. If half of the nation believes that the other half would be justifiably murdered in cold blood, like, I don't know how you even what's funny is, as this poster insinuates, the revolution will not be voted in. I don't know how you vote your way out of this. Out of the situation that we're in. But this is that I did find that the armed queers, Salt Lake City, the revolution will not be voted in. And then with, of course, the bullet star, gay, trans flag, get organized.
think that's the same group that deleted their Instagram
Armed Queers, Salt Lake City. Yeah. Get organized and educated with fellow Marxist. So this the leftists are fomenting violent revolution. This was seen recently at Salt Lake City coffee shop. Meanwhile, Governor Cox is using preferred pronouns. Yeah.
Wasn't there a left-wing YouTuber who was very shaken by the assassination, but put out a poll for his audience whether or not they thought it was justified to kill Charlie Kirk? And like 80% of his audience said yes, something like that. I'm hearing that secondhand. I haven't actually verified it. Yeah.
It wasn't Harry. Was it Harry Steisen? Because I know that he had said something. He had called Charlie Kirk like every name under the sun before, like, you know, racist, Nazi, fascist, so on and so forth.
Right.
And then the day he got killed, he was like, wow, people really need to start turning down their rhetoric. And then people were just quoting him with his old tweets and like, this you, buddy?
Right.
But I know there was one leftist, I forget his name. He was some young kid, but he's a leftist debater. He's like big on TikTok.
I know who you're talking about.
And he cried on stream. Mm-hmm. Because of Charlie Kirk's assassination, you know, showing humanity, empathy, and his audience was like, "Wow, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, you're a terrible person for caring about this other human being." And then he had to clarify later on. He was like, "Oh, I was just sorry for the family, not Charlie, but the family and his kids. Like, I was really sad about that. That's what affected me." Dean Withers, that's his name.
Yeah,
that's his name.
Yeah, it's like at some point you'd think that these people would realize that it's the old sketch where they're the Nazi officers with the skulls on their uniforms, and like, are we the baddies? Like, if you're cheering on the death of a father and by all accounts a good, kind man and a good family man, you're the bad guys.
Well, Even the evil goober of the right wing, Nick Fuentes, in his speech that was watched by like 2 million people the day after, it's probably up to like 2 or 3 million videos or views now. But in his speech after, said like, if you commit any violence in reciprocity to this or in retribution for this, like, I disown you, I disavow you.
That's
right. Good. And he called people like to come together to Christ, and that was his message, which was a really positive message. And so with as people were saying, if you kill the moderate position, well, there is no reason to be a moderate anymore. You killed the guy wanting to talk to you. Now you deal with what's left.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I'm genuinely afraid of, because I don't really have any time for Nick Fuentes. I don't think I've ever actually watched his stuff. So I guess maybe that's
I haven't watched a lot of his stuff either. We watched about 5 minutes of his opening monologue on stream.
Whatever I've heard and seen, I can just tell that he's not someone that I really particularly care to listen to. And some of these cars around here. But yeah, no, I think that absolutely, you kill Charlie. What comes next is that perspective is going to take over. We're going to see a lot more. I mean, it's the same with the knifing. You're going to see a lot more overt and, in some sense, justified racial conversations. Dads talking to their daughters about watching their back when they're on the bus with, black people around. It's like, that's not a good situation to be in, but that's going to become more and more of a reasonable thing as this timeline progresses, if that's where we're headed. So
I've had to do that with my sisters. Just tell them, like, don't have your head buried in your phone out in public. Keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah, I mean, I told my wife the day that news came out, and I didn't racialize it, but we all know how to look for certain signs. And,
Well, that's probably a topic for another day, but I don't even think it would be wrong to racialize it in a way, or to just be honest with your kids about the state of America 2025, right? Or your family members, whatever it might be, right? I mean, it's like telling girls in the UK or whatnot, like, what people to avoid. Like, we're just gonna have to tell them the truth, right?
Yeah.
And whether we like it, whether it's polite or not, or whether it's socially acceptable or is going to get you ostracized from some left-wing group, doesn't matter. The left wing already hates you and wishes you and your family were dead. So I think it's time to stop worrying about what they would be offended by.
Yep.
And I mean, this is that reaction of Dean crying on stream to Kirk's passing. And Dean Withers getting hate for this raw reaction should wake him up to how the left really is, because he was getting absolutely roasted for crying, and then he had to put out a follow-up basically apologizing for crying for Charlie Kirk's death, which is kind of pathetic.
Yeah.
It should wake you up a bit to what audience you're appealing to.
Yeah. Audience capture, man.
Yeah.
That's emasculating.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you can be emasculated if you were never emasculated in the first place, right?
I suppose that's true. Yeah.
Yep.
I thought it'd be fun to. I mean, there's a bunch of things we could talk about, and I'm open to going wherever you guys want to go. I thought it'd be kind of fun to watch, just for old time's sake, the Surrounded video from Jubilee. Just watch Charlie Kirk take down a few liberals, or the Oxford debate might be even more interesting. But I know, Christian, you'd also done a little bit of research on just sort of Christian martyrhood and where some of the trends, and that's in some ways on the rise. So I don't know, where do you guys want to go from here?
We could watch that Jubilee video. I'm not opposed to that.
I have it pulled up. Let me put us here. So this is classic Charlie Kirk This is kind of like what Ben Shapiro did popularize in a way, for sure.
Oh, he's definitely copied that. Yeah.
Well, right, but instead of being a cringe, atheistic,
I like Ben Shapiro. I don't know what you're talking about.
Gross,
well,
dude.
I mean,
I know that's a confession on this channel, but
the problem with Ben is everything comes back to his religion and his disdain for Christians and Jesus, right? So that's where everything falls apart.
I mean, he's a Jew, and I think he's an actual believing.
Well,
Jewish
but it's
person,
the way that you say he's a Jew versus the way that I say he's a Jew.
Yeah.
It's the tone, right?
It says
that
it all.
little tone difference.
Oh well.
Do you think men can give birth?
I think that.
Yes or no question.
Oh, sorry. Did somebody say pause?
No.
Oh, no. Okay. So I think the way that this works is you get 5 minutes, but if more than half the people or if everybody votes you off by raising a flag, you get kicked out and somebody else gets to go talk. Yeah. So basically, if you're drowning and Kirk is just, destroying you in the debate, people can rescue you and get you out of there, basically, so that they can go in there. So you'll see, if you watch some of these debates, you'll see some people last 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and everybody's like, nope, get them out of there now.
I think that a person who is assigned male at birth, I don't think they
assigned male at birth, so people are not male at birth?
I think that a person...
See, your evidence that college is a scam, my friend.
So what do you say in some cases, women with IUDs are murderers?
And that's Dean right there. So this is probably a good conversation between the two of them.
Of course not, they're not murders.
So what's the difference between an IUD killing a conceived zygote and like a mother going to Planned Parenthood and killing the fetus in her womb?
That was actually the best point somebody made.
It's not about the cells. It's not about... No, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. No, I'm speaking. No, I'm speaking. No, I'm speaking. No, I'm speaking.
Want to say one more time?
No, I'm...
Okay, that's... Maybe you should not be, though. People should have gotten you out of there faster.
speaking.
Hello, everyone. I am Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, and I am surrounded by 20 woke college kids. My first prompt is, abortion is murder and should be illegal.
Oof.
All right. Can I maybe go?
Okay, hello, what's your name?
Juliana.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Can
you.
we get our terms right first?
Yeah.
Okay, abortion is the forcible ending of the viability of a being in utero, otherwise known as a fetus. Do we agree that's what abortion is?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, great. And then murder is the intentional taking of life, different than killing or sudden death. So murder would be the intent with intent taking another life. Do we agree with that?
Okay.
Okay, and then we agree that murder in general in society should be illegal.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So yeah, no, I do want to preface that I'm a Catholic. Okay. So I think one really important thing that the Bible says is to not judge. And just going back to the topic.
We don't take her.
No, not one of us. Not one of us.
Nope.
So this, like the other day when we were talking about the TA targets thing, I had to pull up like 30 different verses where it very explicitly tells you to judge and to discern and to have, you should have this capability to do so. But for some reason, atheists and like Christians, like Christian in their bio people, think that there's one generic verse or like rule that cannot be broken about like don't judge or something generically, and that is their highest value.
Christ did say judge not, and it is a matter of serious debate exactly what he meant by that. And so there is,
but context within context, right, is very important, because there's other times where Paul explicitly tells you, like, can you stop worrying about these little issues? You need to be able to judge these, like these little issues that we have now and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes down to be the most simplistic about what I think Christ meant is that we do not know the final state of another person's soul, and we don't get to be the judge in that regard. And that does actually have an impact on how you interact with other people, especially other Christians, and how you judge the different things that they're doing in their lives that you don't agree with. The fact that you aren't the final arbiter of what's right and wrong does actually impact how you should treat them. But even where you draw the line in terms of what crosses the line into something that you should be confronting them about and judging them about, and those things that are more left to matters of conscience, that's gray. And I think even that line is one of those things that we probably shouldn't be judging each other about, where we should allow people to have different lines in terms of, so, because you'll see so often with the judge not crowd is they end up just judging people for judging. And it's like, well, now you're breaking your own rules. At some point, you got to realize that people have different opinions and different ways of reading how strict certain things should be. And so you get some people that are very judgmental. You get other people that are very non-judgmental, but they're really judgy of the judgmental people. And so it is complicated, but we do actually have to reckon with what Christ said, and we have to not just reckon with it in a eternal sense, but we also have to pull it into how we go about our day-to-day lives, because there is a judgmental tendency that can go astray in many Christian circles. But, you know.
So, yes, we are told to not judge, but we are told to call out people's sins. And there is a 4-step process written out in Scripture on how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Mm-hmm. And we're always to speak the truth in love. And, I mean, that's one of the biggest issues when it comes to talking with atheists and even, you know, just Christians that don't understand their own theology. Very often they're misunderstanding what judging even is. They're simply saying that reading Scripture is judgmental, when, you know, you should be able to speak the truth in love, and that in and of itself is not judging. You know, proclaiming the truth is not judgmental in and of itself. Yeah, you can then take it into a judgmental place, but you should always be able to speak the truth in love, and that love may be harsh, but.
Yeah, so judgment is a difficult topic, because that can also be viewed as like executing judgment upon somebody, right? Like an actual punishment for something, right? So are we to judge or discern matters? Yes, we're always to be discerning of matters, but like passing judgment, like some sort of actual punishment, right? And I think that's where the wording gets, you have to be very, very specific and very context dependent on what it is. Because if something happens, it's not even possible for you not to discern it one way or the other. I don't even think, like, if somebody trips in front of you, it's going to be very context dependent, whether that's funny or whether that's sad, or whether it's like, oh shoot, like I need to help this person or whatever. Like, you know, if your bro trips, it's like, okay, that's kind of funny. Like, sorry bro, like you need to get up. But if your child trips and falls, right, you're going to like, oh shoot, I need to help that person, right? So you're going to have discernment about all of these things. But whereas judgment is like actually an action, like something that is passed on to somebody else.
Yeah, and to be fair, this is a serious difference between Protestants and Catholics, how they view judgment, because Catholics do hold the church authority as being an infallible arbiter of certain things, and so the church is able to pass judgments in a way that Protestants really reserve that right to the individual conscience, and so that actually does create a divide in terms of how Protestants and Catholics tend to view judgments. Of course, in the Protestant group, you'll find different opinions throughout, but in the end, the ultimate one of the Protestant principles is one of individual conscience that does set it apart from the way Catholics will view judgment.
I think you were talking about this on one of your other streams the other day, John, as far as God using some people to pass his judgment as well, scripturally.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you can read David's writings in Psalms and whatnot, where he says, like, I have executed your judgments, O Lord, upon the people of which you hate. And God and that's where this also kind of gets into the idea of justice versus vengeance, where vengeance is for yourself, for your own personal gratification. Right, but the axemen or the hangmen, right? They are not executing judgment or justice for their own personal benefit. They're doing it because it's their job and it's what they're commanded to do, basically, right? And so this is why people throughout history, whether it's wars, whether it's the Crusades, whatever it might be, it's not a vengeful thing to do, but it is a just act. There is a such thing as righteous war.
Yeah. And temporally, we absolutely have to pass judgments. And there's just no question.
I think there's a big difference between, cells in utero than a living, breathing, existing being. And while I do believe it's murder, and that's just my personal belief, right? I don't believe in telling people what to do with their bodies. That's not up to me, and it's not up to us as well as.
So, but I think she's lying there, because she's going to tell you that you can't tell somebody else what they can and can't do with their body.
When she's not Catholic, because the church literally tells women what to do with contraceptives, so she's not a good Catholic.
As Christians to judge.
Should we prevent murder?
It's all right, Christian. I'm not judging you.
In society?
For sure, yeah.
It should be illegal.
But I think that it's really different, right? Because, these people aren't.
And gone.
She lasted a minute and a half. Okay, perfect.
Yep. Sorry, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Put some clothes on.
Okay, what's your name?
Naima.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, can I just ask, at how many weeks do you think that a fetus is viable?
Well, viability and moral worth are two different things.
No, but I'm asking you, at how many weeks do you think a fetus is viable?
Well, at about 20 weeks, a baby can survive outside of utero.
I think it's 16 or 17 is the youngest recorded so far.
Yeah, it always shifts.
It's well, and that's the thing too. If it shifts, does advances in medicine make earlier and earlier, according to these people, right, in their paradigm, if it's only about viability, well, 5 years in the future, if it's 15 weeks, and then 5 years after that, it's 14 weeks, and then 5 years after that, it's 14 weeks, right? It just keeps going down and down and down. Yeah. Does morality change because we invented new medicinal scientific purposes, right, to these people?
And anyone who holds the standard of viability, why on earth do we require mothers to care for their babies after they've delivered them? If they can't walk on their own, then they're basically still parasitic in the same sense, right? If they can't provide for themselves, then who's the government to come and tell them what to do with their bodies and work and provide for their babies? Like, I don't know how the standard is applied differently in one case and can be consistently applied to within the womb. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, fair point.
No, that is a good point. Yeah, because it's like, well, you shouldn't be able to tell people what they do, but it's like, no, that's part of society. We actually do.
That's literally what every law does.
Pretty strict ground rules on what you can and can't do, actually.
So it's actually 24 to 26
weeks?
Well, it's
20. The youngest ever in a NICU unit actually happened in San Diego, not far from here, and survived at 20 weeks.
Okay, so under Roe v. Wade, 93% of abortions.
Even if you take the minimalist view, the libertarian minimalist view of what a just law is, and in the codification of the non-aggression principle, it still applies to abortion. So even if you're not, even if you're libertarian and not an ultra right conservative, you're still violating the rights of another individual.
Abortions happened in the first 13 weeks of pregnancy. That's 93% of the abortions happened well before a fetus is technically viable as
sure.
a form
so
of life.
Let's go into viability. So what is it about, let's say, a 6-week baby that has a heartbeat, its own DNA, fingerprint, brain waves, that is less moral worth than an 88-year-old right now with dementia in a home down the street? That person requires assistance, requires help. Why is it that the 6-week baby is of less moral worth?
Well, first of all, it's not a baby, it's a fetus.
Well, what does fetus mean?
A fetus is in utero.
What does fetus mean in Latin?
What the I'm sorry.
It means little human being.
His smile is very creepy. Okay.
Okay, Charlie does have a funny smile, and that was basically like I got you type moment where you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm gonna say it. Charlie's being very professional and very kind. I would not be in this situation dealing with this individual.
Okay.
Smiling is creepy.
No, your smile specifically.
Got it.
But let's go back to we're losing track here.
No, but what species is the fetus?
The fetus is not a species yet. It's technically classified as a parasite until it is.
Whoa, what? Excuse me? It's
That
not
is
a species?
Straight evil, man. Wow.
It's a parasite. Like a tumor? Wow. Maybe I should be like, you're a tumor on society or something like that. I don't know. That's wow.
That's the point. Yeah, when does that change? As long as you're dependent on other people for your survival.
Yeah. And Charlie made a good point about the 80-year-old person senile in a nursing home. Like, they're completely reliant on other people. Does that make them a parasite as well? Yeah.
There isn't a metric, because if you go by intelligence, you're like, okay, what about a kid with Down syndrome? It's like, well, it's consciences. Okay, what about a person in a coma? It's like you just keep going down the list, and it's like, okay, no, they are human and they deserve the same rights as you.
Mm-hmm.
Is viable.
So
now I want to talk to you about something very quickly.
I can't let you get past that. Are you saying a baby is a disease or a tumor?
A parasite is not a disease and a tumor. Those are not the same thing. A parasite is defined as something that cannot survive outside of its host. A baby, before it is viable, cannot survive outside of a woman's womb.
Got it. So let's extrapolate that.
It is not a living organism.
Are old people with Alzheimer's and dementia that are being assisted every day, are they parasites?
No, they're not parasites. They're human beings who are on the brink of death.
Got it. So
they're not going to be able to survive.
4-month-old that requires mom's breast milk and requires daily changes and feedings cannot survive without its own. Is my 4-month-old a parasite?
Your baby can breathe on its own. Your baby can drink water from its mouth to its stomach.
But it cannot.
Your baby can
it
eat
hunt?
food.
Can it gather? Can it reason?
But that's not what qualifies something as being a living organism. Being a living organism simply means, can you survive outside of a womb, outside of your host?
Got it. So I just want to make sure I'm clear. Why does that then equate to moral viability?
It equates to scientific viability.
Why? Under what standard?
Because it is not alive, and you are advocating for the rights of something that is not technically a life.
Got it. So what is it?
While sacrificing the needs of the human woman who is alive.
Got it. So, but a mom can survive.
Yes.
Without the baby in her. Right?
Yes.
The baby cannot survive without the mom.
Yes.
But a mom cannot survive without her lungs. So it's not her body, it's in her body. It's not her DNA, so it's not her choice. So it's
It actually is directly her DNA. It is 100%. It's 50% of her DNA.
Half her DNA.
It's 100%. It's 50%. It's a math for you.
He's gonna win, I'm telling you. This could take a while.
Okay, first of all,
do we have our terms correct? Do you agree?
Actually, no. So first of all, I would like to refine our terms. I have 2 points to bring up after that, though. So you define murder as like intentionally like killing a human being. I think that's a very poor way to define murder, because if someone were to like
this is Dean Withers, yes. This is the man, quote unquote.
Break into my home and point a gun at the heads of me and everybody I love, and I intentionally kill them to prevent them from killing my family, I don't think I murdered them, right? So I would define murder as the unjustified termination of a human life.
You're making a good point. Let me further clarify that. So self-defense is very warranted.
Exactly, right?
But I can see where you're going to go with how that has to go with abortion, but we can go down that journey in a second.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I kind of do want to give you my argument insofar as why I'm pro-choice, why I think it's justified. But first, I think that, your position is quite absurd, right? Because you're saying that it is murder to kill a human being, right, at any point in development, especially when it's in the mother's womb. My question to you would be, well, does this make women with IUDs murderers? Because it is the case that in some scenarios, an IUD will allow for conception to occur, meaning there's a unique human life there, but it will prevent its implantation, intentionally killing it.
Well, no, preventing implantation is not necessarily the same thing as terminating a fertilized egg. For example, if you take Plan B, again, it's not the same thing. Preventing the production of progesterone is not the same thing as terminating a being that has been fertilized. You do not know for a fact that the egg has been fertilized. You do not know that.
Or you can just take it the full way and just say, yeah, all contraceptives are gay. Which is like the Catholic
That's the Catholic
which actually
stance,
makes the most sense, because you're just like, contraceptives are gay.
Yeah, they promote
gay, don't do it.
I think the term is natural family planning, I think is what they promote.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, interestingly enough, is, I believe, so the rad trad Catholics think that natural family planning is shouldn't be allowed, which I tend to agree with. If you take the rest of Catholic reasoning on why contraception is bad, then I'm not clear on why natural family planning is okay. That's a discussion for another time. But you can draw out the logic chains, and it doesn't seem like it should follow that natural family planning should be okay.
Interesting.
NFP is contraceptive in mentality, therefore gay.
Exactly.
I haven't looked into
I don't know how that would qualify, because that would just be like the same thing as like a diet, right? Because you'd be like, well, I am abstaining from food to lose weight, and it's the same way we're abstaining from sex as a couple to, for whatever purpose in life that we need to not have a child right now. Like, let's say you're planning a big move or you're planning something else. There's a reason why you would not necessarily want to
You are
complicate things with a
ordering
child.
your sexual activity in a way that is contraceptive in mentality, right? You are ordering your sexual behavior so that you have sex at sometimes. It's not a pure abstention. It's just abstention during certain periods of fertility. And so you're ordering your sexual activity so as not to have children, which... How is that different from taking a pill to chemically increase some hormones rather than other hormones, just increase your certain hormones in order
the
to
altering
prevent?
hormones one is terrible. I think there's a lot of terrible side effects, especially to
That's
parents.
a separate
that is
medical
another
issue.
thing.
That's not a moral issue. That's a you can't just shift the goalpost. So if you're just talking on the telos of sex, if you believe that the reason for having sex, the purpose of sex is children, then ordering your sexual activity in a way that would not allow for children would seem to be against the open for life mentality. That is the reason for being against contraception. So that's the reason, the argument against NFP. And then
okay, yeah. See, I was interpreting it not that way, not to where you're only having sex during like low fertility.
That's what NFP
That was
is.
my understanding of it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because I was interpreting it the other way, where you just abstain from sex until you're ready to have a child.
No,
Okay,
NFP is just sex during infertile periods. Preferably, and it's not particularly successful, but it does work if you do it. And if you are careful with it, it certainly can be effective. The interesting thing is, though, Catholics are not against like the chemicals per se. Like, you can take as a Catholic, you can take contraceptive pills even while married and having sex, if you are doing so for non-contraceptive reasons. So there are some that get prescribed birth control for non-pregnancy related things. They want to change their hormones for other reasons, and for medical conditions or whatever, and the church will actually allow that. So they don't have a problem with Plan B, or not Plan B, with the pill per se, but they do have a problem with the reason for taking the pill being to avoid pregnancy. Now, so in that case, it's not the chemical, it's the reason. But in NFP, the same rationality is okay, but no, with as long as there's no pill involved. So yeah, that right. Seems fishy to me. Yeah. And then, but this is, I mean, birth control is really sticky subject. Like, even Charlie Kirk here, he's basically saying that Plan B is okay, and I don't think that's true at all. Like, I think Plan B is absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
So
yeah, my initial interpretation of a lot of this stuff is the more you try to get out of the consequences of your actions, the more sus it becomes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like, again, like I remember when I was high school age, there would be mothers that would just give their children, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old daughters, they would give them whatever it's called, and they would just have them on that like terminally, and then later on in life they have all sorts of issues, and it's like, you should be there's a root cause you're trying to get around here.
I have a friend that teach said
women to be moral.
Yeah, well, and there's all kinds of stories about women coming off of birth control and totally changing their behaviors. Like, so for some women, they'll find that they're all of a sudden not attracted to their husband at all, who they've like been with since high school. And as soon as they get off, their hormones change, and like now they're repulsed by this man who they used to love. Other people get the exact opposite, where it's like wife comes off birth control and they're like, wow, she is all over me. So it doesn't.
Well, that's the dangers of all hormone stuff. Like even for men, like if you go on certain like trend, deco, whatever it might be, you can have some wacky urges start to pop up that would not normally be there, right? So I think it is a very dangerous road to go down.
Yeah.
I have seen studies about that birth control actually does make them choose like softer, more
effeminate men. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something to that, which is just weird.
It's strange, yeah. Concerning too, actually.
Yeah.
Well, it does line up with trends, what women want seems like to be what
Reformer says, nah, take trend, bro. You'll be fine, dude.
Okay, yeah, so preventing fertilization or implantation to the uterine lining is killing a conceived zygote. So what happens? A sperm goes into the egg, right? The egg becomes fertilized. It's a conceived zygote. In some cases, it will prevent the implantation of the conceived zygote, killing the conceived zygote.
In some cases, correct.
So what do you say in some cases, women with IUDs are murderers?
Of course not, they're not murderers. We do not know for a case. That's like saying that.
So what's the difference between an IUD killing a conceived zygote and like a mother going to Planned Parenthood and killing the fetus in her womb?
Well, so you're asking two separate things. If they
See, this is the danger that I want to avoid, is getting bogged down in the insanely technical zygote versus implanted egg versus fetus and all of this stuff, and just cut to before all of that and just say, yeah, it's all mega gay.
I'll be right back.
You're good.
They knew for certain, to be more clear, that I have a fertilized egg and I'm going to take a drug to prevent that fertilized egg from attaching to their uterine wall, then yes, that is an act of killing or murder, of course.
Okay, so do you think all murderers should go to jail?
Do I think all murderers should go to jail? I mean, on third degree murder. However, no, I don't think women that got abortions or had IUDs should go to jail, because I think that they have been deceived by mass culture and mass propaganda. Secondly, the people who should go to jail are the abortionists, who are the ones that have been putting the abortion pill, the ones that have been doing procedures, the ones that have been going into the third trimester and breaking babies' backs and inserting them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever seen a video of what happens to a fetus?
I'm sure I've seen animations. I haven't seen like anything beyond more graphic than that, but it's enough.
I don't know. Like if I saw somebody do that to one of I have 3 children, right? I'm just about to celebrate my youngest child's first birthday. And the thought of some doctor ripping apart a child in there and pulling it out piece by piece. I would violate YouTube's TOS by, explaining what should happen to this person. But and that's what a lot of these women or a lot of people, they're just unexposed to it. They just think it's some sort of procedure, or it's just like, oh, it's just everybody does it, so it's moral. But when you actually see what they do to, in some cases, viable fetuses.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know a way to interpret it other than some sort of satanic ritual. Like I couldn't imagine another more
like who goes into this line of work and who stays in it. I mean, I know some people, like, ideas have consequences, and if you are raised in this liberal, shaping, and that's what's melted your brain into thinking that it's okay to kill babies, then I can maybe you go into this line of work thinking that you're doing something good, right? Because people have convinced you that evil is good and good is evil. In which case, shame on the professor, shame on you for eating it up. But still, you get some amount of, you get the benefit of being ignorant. But then you stay in it and you see what's going on. Yeah, you basically would have to be a Satanist to continue to do that kind of work. I don't understand how you could stay in it.
The ones that have been doing procedures, the ones that have been going into the third trimester and breaking babies' backs and inserting them with syringes while the babies are crying and suffocating, being born alive, and then being dead on the operating table. Okay. That is who should go to jail.
Oh.
That was actually the best point somebody made.
We'll have to talk about
know.
Okay, whenever I'm talking about this discussion, I always go to the question of what about in the case of the mother when her life is in danger? Because I'm a big believer. I don't know. I'm still iffy on if I think it's or if it's murder or not. But even so, I mean, I don't want to say murder is justified. Guys, wait, let me just get this one point, and then you can vote me out. Give me 1 second. Say the mother gets pregnant, and she knows that if she gives birth, she's going to die. She has some kind of health complication. Then what do you do in that case?
Section.
I don't know what that means.
It's a C-section. They
Oh,
do an
cesarean.
insert.
Guys, wait, hold on. Give me one second.
They go right below the belly button, and they deliver the baby, and after she doesn't have to give birth. It's technically.
I don't think they think that she's radical enough. I think they think that she's too soft, and they're just like, oh, get her out of here. She's not a true pro-abortion murderer like I am. Damn. And she's the life of the mother is, and I've talked about this with my wife. I was like, it's an interesting argument, right? Doesn't matter, save the kid. Like that's the stance. Unless it is like already dead, which in case there is no life at stake. But if there is any sort of choice, it's the child.
Yeah, I'm not sure that you have to make, like, there are a number of medical decisions that you have to make, some of which could put the child in a certain amount of risk, which I think one could be justified. And I'm not saying this is what I would do, but one could be justified in making certain decisions that are more likely to save the mother and do put the child at a higher percentage of risk. But at no point are you justified, regardless of what's going on, in actively killing the baby to save the mother. I mean, that is what the whole life of the mother debate's around. Now, can you make certain decisions that do put your child at a slightly higher risk, and is that justifiable? It's a really tough moral decision, and I don't know what I would do in that case. I do think that your inclinations are right, though, that, as parents, your duty is to the kids.
That's the thing, and that's what we talked about. It's like, if I'm about to crash a car, it's like, well, I could put myself at less of a risk if I slam the side that has my kid in it into the wall, right? We might still both survive, but I have a better chance.
Right.
It's like, can you do that? Not morally. So, I mean, that's my stance on it.
Right.
Which it's an easy thing for me to say, right?
Yeah. I hate how they try to justify abortion with like rape or putting the mother's life in danger. And I just looked up.
It's a bad argument.
It's a very bad argument because it's such a small percentage. And I just looked it up. It's 33 deaths per 100,000 live births. So it's just, it's a horrible argument.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Birth, but it's much safer. So that's actually safer than an abortion procedure. Sorry, Lily. Hello, how are you?
Hi.
What's your name?
Deedon.
Nice
to meet you. I would say with abortion, I think it's very complicated, but I think the issue that I have primarily with your stance of being pro-life, that there's no nuance. There's women who are being forced to travel hundreds of miles to access abortion care, even in cases of rape in certain states that they're not giving any sort of allowance for that. And I think, a lot of people who are...
Rape is like what? Like
less than 1%. Yeah, it's so small.
It's a tiny percentage.
If you are arguing with someone that tries to use this type of argumentation, just ask them, okay, if I gave you that, where do you think that you should be able to abort babies? And their standard is like, if the only time you should really be debating this particular nuanced point is if you are debating with someone who is like with you on every other case, but is just struggling to see why, if they think that abortion should be allowed in the case of rape or incest or the life of the mother. If those are their exceptions, then you can have that debate. But that's an internal debate. That's not a debate you need to have with someone that believes that you should be able to abort all the way up to 9 months. That just, it's completely ridiculous and totally beside the point.
They're trying to create a scenario that makes you feel bad, like kind of puts you in the moral underhand, I suppose, because like you're going to force her to carry her rapist baby for 9 months. Chad, yes, but you still don't get to kill a baby in any circumstance, right? Once you have determined that it is murder, aborting a child is murder, at no point do you ever get to murder the child. Now you could always just turn it around on them and be like, okay, well, what does it depend on the color of the rapist or no? Then ask them that question, and then be like, wait, what do you mean? It's like, you asked me this silly question, I'm gonna ask you a silly question.
Yep.
Are pro-life. They say that they're pro-life, but I feel like they're really pro-birth because with firearms, the United States has some of the highest firearm deaths out of OECD nations, right? And
pro-birth, yes, like correct. You have to birth them to be alive, right? So that's part of it. But I think their argument when it's quote unquote pro-birth is that you don't care what happens after they're birthed, I suppose is what they're trying to say. But even if even if you have to put the child up for adoption or something like that, like there's a long wait list for people wanting to adopt children, people who can't have children. There's certain people that should not be on that list, of course, that we can all agree on. But yeah, I don't understand that argument too well, because it's almost like admitting that the child won't be cared for, that the parents won't be good. Like they use that quality of life, right? Well, what about if they're too poor and they can't afford a child, so they have to kill it?
Yeah, no, I mean it is the position is probably more succinctly stated in terms of we're anti-murder. I think that's really what we're getting at when it comes to the pro-life statement. We are also pro-life. It's a totally fair way of characterizing it, but at the very least, what we're trying to say is that we should not be murdering babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally, it's inconvenient for me. That's usually
acknowledge that that's for children who are actually living and breathing. So I feel like abortion, while it is, I can definitely see your point. I just think that it should be allowed in some circumstances.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I'm happy to get into the gun violence stuff later, but I want to really stay focused on abortion.
Right.
You can say you see my point. Can you see the world also where, since we know it's a human life, that it should be illegal since we don't allow murder in our society?
Well, that's where I have an issue, because abortion is not being done willy-nilly. It's like the life of the mother is always.
How many abortions do you think we have every day in America? Just guess.
I'm not sure.
Guess.
I'm not.
Bold of you to make a statement to Charlie Kirk when you do not have an answer. Yeah. You make a claim with zero evidence. That might work in some sort of like Twitter debate or amongst your friends or something, but against any level of debater that's prepared for a topic, you're going to get trounced if you just say, actually, I don't know. I made that statement, but I don't have any evidence to back that up.
Yeah, you're cooked.
I'm honestly not sure. Maybe, I don't know, 1,000?
4,000 a day. So
4,000.
it is kind of willy-nilly. We have 1.6.
And what is that, 1.6 million a year? Yeah. What was it, 25% of Gen
it was
Z?
like 28 maybe, but
yeah, a disgusting percentage of Gen Z is not with us. They are
a quarter of one of our generations. Just
gone.
Disgusting.
Sorry. Hello.
Hi. I just want to clarify, the thing that you're aiming for is less abortion, right? That would be what you would want, or at least no abortion.
Eventually, it's also a protection of those that can't protect themselves. But yes, and that's why after the reversal of Roe versus Wade, we saw abortions go down dramatically in Texas, Alabama, Mississippi. We saw thousands of babies that are now alive and well. They're able to have amazing lives thanks to the reversal of Roe versus Wade.
I don't think a lot of that is true.
Well, it is, but
it's not true, because when you make abortion illegal, it doesn't actually decrease the amount of abortions that happen.
That's a nice talking point. In Texas, the numbers show differently. The birth rate has gone up.
Yeah, legal goes down, but illegal abortions still happen. Abortions still happen outside of whatever data you're showing.
That's not true, but let's just say well, if you want to, well, first of all, you count the abortion pill, you're right, but that's a separate thing than a chemical abortion and surgical abortion are different things. And I'm not debating you. I'm debating her. So if you want to do the flags and come back in, try and be faster next time. So let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. So the question is, we should try to limit unjust suffering of human beings, right?
Sure.
Okay, that's my position, is that there's unjust suffering of anywhere between 1.4 to 1.6 million abortions a year of human beings that are being massacred in the womb. And so that's not a woman's rights issue, that's not a men's rights issue, that's just a human rights issue.
Okay, the best way to decrease abortions happening is proper sex education. Limiting abortion and making abortion illegal does not actually decrease the amount of abortions that happen.
So what is your evidence of that?
What is my evidence of that?
Because we have increased sex education in the last 30 years.
Our sex education is so bad in America.
Well, by bad, what do you mean by that? We have more access to birth control for young kids. We have more kids that are learning to do birth control at a younger age. We have more of that in our public school system, and we've seen all the trends actually go in a negative direction. So, in fact, we see that the more sex education there is, the more disturbing those trends are. So you say that. Let me ask you just one more thing. Mm-hmm. You say that if we make abortion illegal, people will still do it. Should we then just make gang violence legal because?
No, I'm saying if you actually wanted to decrease the amount of abortions that happen, you wouldn't be advocating for to make abortion illegal. You'd be advocating for all of these other things.
Does that logic apply to stealing, looting, kidnapping, arson, and murder?
Well, actually, it does, because those are results of different societal issues that you should be educating yourself on, rather than making it illegal on the front.
Should we make kidnapping, arson, burglary, murder legal because they're symptoms of something else?
We should be helping society heal from those things.
You got to answer the question. We want less of those things. Should we just make them legal and we'll get less looting?
Actually, I'm gonna let someone else.
He was really good at this.
Damn, she gave up. She didn't even get voted off. She gave up. She's like, I had my one talking point and it worked so well in my head, and then I came up here and then I got trounced and I feel embarrassed and I'm gonna walk back to my seat.
His pro-life debating was amazing.
Let's stop here.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, you should make it legal so that we can get less of it. It's like That's a strange argument to make. Like, there's going to be some wild thesis.
They
right
make
there.
the same argument about drugs. Libertarians make this argument all the time.
Yep.
It just doesn't make sense. The law is a teacher, whether you think it should be or not. It is, and so making something illegal will get less of it.
Look, this works the same if you're a parent with kids. If you discipline your children for bad actions, pretty quickly you get less of those bad actions.
Wouldn't you know?
It's crazy concept, but if you encourage good actions and you put out rewards for good actions, your kids start doing those things, and then they turn it into a game about how much stuff can I get from dad, or how many sweets or candies or whatever it might be that I can get from dad, right? But yeah, it's just anything that you allow and encourage, you're going to get more of, and anything that you shame, ostracize, or put actual societal penalties on, you're going to get less of. That sort of reverse psychology only works on like emo 17-year-olds, and then after that, you kind of grow out of that phase where it's like, I'm going to do it just because I'm punk and I reject all authority.
Hi, Parker. Nice to meet you. Yes.
Nice to meet you, Charlie.
Big TikTok guy here.
So,
yeah, Parker is another one of the same. Him and Dean kind of run in the same, in the same circles. Parker is not gay, but would date a trans woman, meaning a dude. So that was a very funny debate moment between. That was very, very funny because he had to defend trans women are women. So Andrew Wilson basically cornered him into saying, like, yeah. So I was like, and then he just laughed at him, being like, "You're gay, bro. Yeah. What do you mean? You're gay."
But you know what? If you are a materialist, then sure, yeah, I guess that works. If you are dating someone who is totally passing and it's all just meat and matter, and you don't care about what something actually is because you don't believe in any kind of
I think they do.
Yeah, well.
I don't think they can get away from it. They know. They know. They can lie and tell you that it doesn't matter. They can tell you that it's not real, but they know. Because that's why they're embarrassed by it. They know.
Yeah.
Like pedophiles, people who were married to children in the past and normalized in that society, should they go to prison?
Should pedophiles?
Like, if you could go back in time, would you put those pedophiles in prison that married those children because it was normalized? They were deceived into thinking it's okay. Would you put them in prison?
You got to slow down.
Sorry.
Pedophiles should get the death penalty.
No, so you go back in the past, you give them the death penalty, even though they were deceived into thinking it was okay. But you said people who get abortions who are women should go to prison.
But it's not current.
Okay, The time machine hypothetical is always wacky because that's just not a world that we actually live in. So that's I don't see how that's relevant to the discussion of now, the point where we actually live. It's a total deflection of the issue. It's trying to get a got you off of some made up hypothetical fantasy land. It's like, I don't know, if unicorns were real, maybe I would behave differently, but they're not. Right. So
yeah.
Currently illegal.
Okay, regardless. At that time, it wasn't.
No, I would not go back and retroactively enforce laws where things were currently not illegal.
You wouldn't put pedophiles in prison in the past.
Hold on a second. When was it illegal? When was it legal in America?
Well, child marriage was legal in America throughout the early 1900s, and especially throughout most of society for thousands of years, especially in the Old Testament and in the Bible.
Hold on a second. So where is the Levitical law that allows you to marry a child?
Oh, yeah.
Can you name the verse?
Well, I can't name the verse, but the particular conditions that are listed in the Bible are that you have to be physical maturity and emotional maturity, which is extremely vague and throughout society has been seen to be met at puberty.
There is not a verse, but let's kind of go
back.
Okay,
so when is the age of consent under your review?
Let's go back to, generally agree upon it's 18 years old. But let me ask you.
But you, because you don't go based on what's generally agreed, you go based on the Bible.
I say 18 years old, but let me ask you a question.
Where's that in the Bible?
When does life begin?
Conception.
Like conception, great. So good. So should we protect all life at conception?
I care about sentient life, not cellular life.
So when do brainwaves start?
Do you think brain dead?
Ooh, the sentient argument. So again, dementia, coma patient, Down syndrome, anything like that. And then you got to ask them if there's levels to it. Is there levels to sentience? Is there levels to intelligence? Because what if you have an 80 IQ and I have 100 IQ? Am I 25% more valuable than you in that case? Because like this could be. I mean, maybe we should have a society like this. Maybe I'm listening to you now.
people should be able to pull the plug on, like families should be able to pull the plug on individual
Hold on,
families.
you gotta answer the question. When do brainwaves start?
You can see brainwaves around 6 to 8 weeks, which in brain dead individual there are brainwaves as well. So the brainwaves necessary to produce a subjective experience aren't met until around 18 to 26 weeks in the womb.
Can you see it from my perspective that at 6 to 8 weeks those brainwaves will actually increase, not decrease, if allowed the process of development to continue?
Did you know those same EEG scans exist in brain dead people?
No, but the difference with the brain dead people is that the likelihood of those brainwaves actually increasing is very low at 6 to 8 weeks, when by 15 weeks they can hear the mom's voice.
It's irreversible sensation. That's what brain death is. I
Hold on,
didn't know that.
but no,
it's not coma.
But you're doing a red herring. Go back to
no, it's not. What's a red herring?
A red herring is where you avoid the topic and you say something that is adjacent or symmetrical to what I'm saying, but not actually what I'm saying.
You mean a reductio ad absurdum? That's not a red herring.
A 6 to 8 week baby.
Okay, so he did a red herring by appealing to a reductio ad absurdum when that was not what he was actually claiming, which is quite funny.
These are basic logic terms. I don't know how you can't know that and be a debater.
Well, he did a red herring while deflecting from a red herring, which I find quite funny.
Right.
If they're allowed to continue to develop, what ends up happening?
At a certain point, it will become a sentient being in the future. The same way that if I keep engaging in sex with my girlfriend, it'll be a baby in the future. Yet I don't care about the
unless
sperm.
you're infertile, which we don't know. But
This
so
man is not
let's see
having sex with
the
his
process
girlfriend.
of development, right? Why
Do
do
you answer my question?
Well, listen, his trans girlfriend can't get pregnant, so it's like natural birth control or something.
Yeah.
Why do you have the ability or the right?
Should those child P3os go to prison?
The process of
Should the
development
pedophiles go to prison?
from 1904. How many pedophiles are alive from 1904?
They're not alive, right? I meant like if you can go back in the past,
Okay, that's
hypothetically speaking, and you could put them in prison. Would you put them in prison?
I would have killed them myself if I was alive.
Okay, so then you don't apply it based upon what people are deceived to believe. You apply it based on what you consider to be moral. So the women who had abortions, you think they should go to prison. So why should women who get abortions go to prison? But someone like my mom who told me that Santa Claus exists shouldn't go to prison.
This is not going to be a constructive debate if you keep on talking over me.
The guy in the back is like, "Yeah, get him, man. You got him there."
Well, I was finishing my statement. You were talking over me.
Let me ask you a very simple question. Do you think it would be a good thing if we had less abortions in America?
It depends on the context. Like, are the abortions prior to sentience?
Yes,
because
all abortions.
No, it would not be necessarily
are
better unless it is the case
abortion?
that the people didn't want the abortions and it would be negatively impactful to their health medically speaking.
Are you against late
women
abortion?
After sentience, yes.
Okay, so you believe in an 8-week abortion ban?
Yeah. No, I don't. Sorry, I believe in an abortion ban after 18 through 26 weeks.
Okay, that's a more reasonable position. I have to give you credit for that.
It's similar to Trump's 15 weeks.
Yeah. So why do you think that most people don't share your view on that?
Well, people just don't really know what sentience is. There's not a lot of conversation about abortion, and these conversations are very difficult. Like they're conceptually hard to go through, and I understand why a lot of people don't understand
for sure.
their positions on it.
So
But I think people
are aware most
you're cutting me off.
Americans
I thought we weren't cutting people off.
I was actually complimenting you. How are you? Nice to see you.
So I just have one question. There's like in any case, you don't think there's any case where abortion should be legal?
There's a very, very rare couple cases.
Okay, so you do
where-
think
hold on
that a
one
couple
second.
cases
Hold
it
on.
is legal?
If cesarean section is not going to save the mother's life, and the mother's life is actually at risk, which is debated amongst growing numbers of OBGYNs,
Okay.
that is the only case where abortion should be
Do you
allowed.
think there should-
But people say that it is a growing consensus in the pro-life world that abortion is never medically necessary.
Okay, so if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and
Those eyes, red flag. Leave
Stay
immediately.
away.
Do not come back. The septum piercing, just nope.
she was gonna give birth and she would no wait.
Dude, okay. I wasn't gonna say anything, but when she was first up there, she was like, I don't know if that's an Adderall thing, if there's something else going on, but it seemed like she was behind some X5. Aw, damn.
Sorry, Jake.
Ouch.
Kind of cute, but you should have looked for the eyes.
You guys could not fix her. Do not attempt.
Maybe Jordan Jereb can.
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
You do need to be praying for all these people because you got to remember, we were all very young and very stupid. Some of us are varying levels of young and stupid as of right now. So that we have to hope that all of these people. And you know what's funny? Is through this conversation right now, that was what, a year ago? No, not too long ago at all. Actually, only 6 days ago. Well, but through some of these events, it is most likely that Charlie will have an influence on some of these people to change their views at some point in the future.
Yeah.
So, and that's what Charlie would have wanted. He would have wanted all these people to, and he even said that in that intro clip, is he wants these people to realize that abortion is an awful thing, and there is nothing more fulfilling in your life than getting married, having family, and turning your life over to Christ. There's nothing more important than that. Not some soulless office job where you're in HR and you work 9 to 5 until you're 45, and then you wonder why you're alone and you feel sad and you're depressed for the rest of your life, and that
Right.
the best years of your life were sold to some office company for $65K a year.
It was so sweet to watch Charlie on Whatever podcast, which I'm not a big fan of the Whatever podcast. I like it seems totally scummy. Just advertising for these OnlyFans models.
It
but
seems weird.
And it is weird that a lot of conservative people go on it. It just seems like they're contributing to the advertisement.
Well,
I
don't want to talk about that right now. You can start. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's a separate question. But it's really sweet to see Charlie just trying to witness to these women, and he was just so gracious, and you could tell that I don't know had an impact on them, but they could feel the love from him.
Yeah, the women reacted to it, to his wholesomeness, right? These what we would consider to be degenerates were reacting to him just being a normal, wholesome father, right? Some of
yes,
these people
they're acting
had that in their
degenerately,
life.
but they're just victims. Like these women, I have more sympathy than anything else for them.
I can see the sympathy, but I still have to be held accountable.
Yes,
so
they're not just victims.
Yeah,
I should amend my
I
statement,
understand.
but they are victims. But yes.
And she was gonna live. Would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Oh, okay, great. So that's insane.
But let me tell you why. No, hold on. Let me ask you a question. There's 2 ultrasounds I have. One is a baby conceived in. One is a baby conceived by a loving couple. Which one is which?
Your daughter was probably hopefully conceived by a somewhat
Which person here
loving
was
couple.
conceived by? Tell me which one was conceived by.
You don't know.
Exactly, because it's all human rights.
But
and it's all
that
human
doesn't
beings.
matter.
So
It's about your daughter who has to give birth to it and is going to be tortured by that
Hold
for
on a
the rest
second.
of her
You-
life.
you are
That's
not-
going to take away every
Hold on a
freedom
second.
she's ever going to have.
Hold on.
That's going to
Every
ruin
freedom.
her life. She's going to
You know
grow
what?
up and she's going to be
Abortion is not a
attached to another
victimless
thing.
crime. The point is how you were conceived is irrelevant what human rights you get.
But-
hold on one second. If a person conceived in walks on the side of the street, it's not like they don't get First Amendment rights or Second Amendment rights.
It's
or
not
Fourth
about
Amendment
that
rights.
person.
The worst thing to do to the daughter is to then say, hey, we're going to go murder the being inside of you.
They wouldn't even know. Like, listen.
They wouldn't know.
Listen.
But wouldn't it be a better story to say something evil happened and we do something good in the face of evil instead of saying
Isn't
we're
there
going
a
to do evil and
country
then
that
murder the being?
has like 0 people with Down syndrome because they've just aborted them all? I think it's one of the Scandinavian countries, or they'll brag about how they don't have any people with Down syndrome. They don't have any retarded people because they kill them all before they're born.
One of my old pastors.
Hell of a thing to brag about.
Yeah, one of my old pastors. So China has a very interesting policy for babies that have any sort of defects or whatnot. So one of my old pastors, who was our children's pastors at a church that I grew up in, basically, he and his wife couldn't have kids. And so they explicitly, it was very difficult and very expensive, but the only way to adopt a Chinese child is if they have physical or these mental defects, right? And so they, I think, were able to do 3 of these children that were essentially given up by their parents. Some of them, they're very, very normal kids for the most part. There was a couple little things here and there that might be off or wrong, but they were able to actually take these kids that were literally like second class, nothing citizens. They would have had no pathway in life almost. Yeah. And not just because they didn't want to have their own kids, which is a really selfish thing to do. I think if you're like, oh, well, we could have our own kids, but I'm just going to take them from somewhere else because I don't want to ruin my body or something like that. I'm like, I don't know about that. But they actually could not conceive. And so it was an interesting circumstance for sure. And that's the country that also does not value these children whatsoever. Yeah, probably Iceland.
Because we're gonna pander to the evil. No, what makes the West great is that we do good after evil, not evil after evil.
It's not about the being in the cells. It's not about. No. I'm speaking. No, 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 I'm speaking.
Got it.
Thank you. So it's not. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the person. No. I'm talking about the person who is dealing with the pregnancy. I am not talking about the cells. I don't care. No, listen.
Okay. Someone commented earlier.
I have a.
Go ahead. Well, I was gonna say someone commented earlier that at that point you just Sean Connery the woman. That's a reference to. Have you guys seen that clip?
I've seen that clip. Yeah.
It's sometimes
Barbara
Walters.
Walters.
A woman's pushing her buttons, and she just.
I think it'd be absolutely right.
There's a good Ronald Reagan clip of that too.
And then he's like, "Well, sometimes I like it."
Mm-hmm.
But no, so I've heard this postulated before, that female empathy stops at themselves or somebody's shoes that they can put themselves into. So, for instance, this woman is putting herself into the shoes of the woman who has been raped and who is pregnant from this rape. But there is no empathy for anyone else. And so that is what she is completely consumed by. And so it's kind of the same thing where a lot of women, like if they see, they're like, oh, we want an emotional man. But then if you cry in front of him, they get the ick. Or if you show any emotion, they're like, oh, actually, ooh, that's really gross. It's because I've heard this, obviously this isn't all women, okay, but just as a general thing, it is more difficult for them to put empathy on something outside of something that they can't directly identify with. For instance, in this case, the woman that has to carry this baby to term. Like, there is no empathy for the child at all. She does not care at all. She's fixated purely on the one individual, nobody else in this circumstance.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting comment. I'd have to think about that, how it applies generally, because certainly women have a certain emotional intelligence that is not that I even like that term, like EQ versus IQ.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, but they do have a certain intuition for, and they're all about feels. But I think you're kind of right. I think that there is something where they, they might be really good at sympathy, but it might fall short of empathy. Where I think that there aren't very many women that really could put themselves in the shoes of a man and understand what men have to go through. Yeah. And that might just be a limitation of human nature in general, though, because I don't think that men really understand women. So,
well, I think there is some truth in that. Yeah. Well, no, I think there is truth to that as well. That it works both ways.
The fetus, the whatever, I don't care about that right now until it is formed. If there is a 5-year-old child who is pregnant and the baby is 2 weeks in utero, actually they have given birth. There is, yes.
What?
There is one.
Lena Medina of Peru gave birth via C-section at 5 years old. Precocious puberty. That's a factoid I could have gone without knowing.
Yeah, but then again, they're using another fringe example, which is probably 0.0001%.
Like the only fringe example.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't even know that was possible that go through puberty at 5 years old.
And usually when they provide fact checks for this, it's like a percentage or like, an actual sizable number of people. It's just one person. Yeah, exactly like you said. Yeah. It's literally one instance. So utterly ridiculous. You looking it up right now?
Yeah, I'm like, what? Yeah. This is gonna look odd on my search history. How can someone get pregnant?
Good thing your wife's chained up in the basement.
Yeah. I should honestly just ask her. We're talking like early teens is like the normal. So like 10 to 13 is physically possible, but 5 is like she has a condition that allowed her to go through puberty early, which is absolutely insane. Could you, just disgusting evil aside, could you imagine being 6 years separated from your mother? Could you imagine both being teenagers at the same time?
Gosh.
No, literally 19 and 13.
Yeah.
You would both be teenagers at the same time. Insane. I don't want to live in this world anymore.
There is one recorded case of a 5-year-old girl who gave birth.
Is that common?
Yes, it's common. 5-year-olds get sometimes, and if they get pregnant, I think they should be able to have medical access to something that could save not only just their life, but like their livelihood.
How many? I'm curious.
I hope your daughter lives a very happy life and gets away from you.
Okay, so.
Wow. What a. Damn. All right. I hope that lady gets some help. It doesn't seem like she is quite emotionally stable.
How many? I'm curious.
I hope your daughter lives a very happy life and gets away from you.
Okay, so that is really
and actually tragic considering the recent events as well.
Yeah,
horrifying.
That's
really nasty. And so her belief system, just so.
And look at the people clapping. Like, James, you're muted, but I can guess what you were saying.
Oh, yeah, I just called them degenerates.
clapping like I hope your daughter gets away from you someday. Yeah, you loving father who care for the unborn, you evil man who wish to limit what you see as murder in the universe. I hope your daughter gets away from somebody like you. Disgusting. This was only 6 days ago, September 8th. 34 million views, which it absolutely went insanely mega viral.
Michael Knowles says that all liberal political philosophy is just amounts to screw you, Dad.
Well,
I think it's about right.
Oh, wait, sorry. September 8th of last year. Yeah. Last year, 2024. I didn't realize that. That was my bad. I thought this was only a few days ago. How do I shorten this?
We're clear is that. Yeah, no, I got it. It's fine. I mean, it's insanely nasty, and we'll talk again. My next claim is that college is a scam.
Well, I don't know if you want to go through all three of the claims that are in this video, but we can move on to the, the recent events, Charlie Kirk's assassination, his martyrdom. Yeah, and well, I suppose we should just start off by asking the question: is Charlie Kirk a martyr?
If you want to take it, James, you can.
No, I mean, I don't know that I have. I mean, I would think yes, but I guess just to lay out the question as I understand it, a martyr would be someone that is murdered for their faith, and I think that is the question. So, it was Charlie Kirk a Christian? I think the answer is yes. I think we're all in agreement there. And was he murdered for his Christian faith? That I don't know for sure. I guess you really would have to look in the heart of the killer. And maybe I'm getting the definition of martyr wrong, but
the definition of martyr includes religious as well as just your beliefs in general.
Yeah, well, he is definitely murdered
you can
for
be
his
martyred
beliefs.
for different causes.
Sure, yeah. So, I mean...
But a Christian martyr. The question is Christian martyr.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. I would think because, in part because of his outspoken Christian beliefs, and then also because it seemed like there was a big trans component to the murdering, and trans ideology is absolutely antithetical to Christian
yes.
theology, and we've seen this over and over with school shootings. Trans people will target Christianity. They certainly see themselves as the natural enemies of Christianity, and so if he was a victim of that kind of violence, then it certainly seems appropriate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that he was murdered for his beliefs, and his beliefs stemmed from his Christian beliefs. They were inseparable from each other.
Yes.
So I think he meets the definition of a Christian martyr. There are some other people that you wouldn't necessarily put in that because they've come to those same conclusions, although very, very few. I know very, very few anti-abortion atheists or agnostics or even other religions. Very, very few. It is almost a Christian principle, or solely a Christian principle, I should say.
There are other religions that are very anti-abortion as well.
Mm.
Could he be canonized not being Catholic? I don't think so, no.
So there are some Orthodox people who were canonized as saints. So it's
was
like
it pre-schism, though?
It was I would have to look into it because I remember reading something about Orthodox. I think it was Orthodox kids that were, or something happened there. But it's very, if it does happen at all, it's very, very rare. Somebody outside. And if I remember correctly, the day before he died, he had an Orthodox priest on his show, and his wife is Catholic. Am I saying that right?
His wife is Catholic.
His wife is Catholic, so he's attended mass with her, but his hometown church is not Catholic. But I mean, just recently before he died, he was talking about the Virgin Mary and how important she is for the West in terms of fighting feminism and stuff like that for women. So, yeah. I mean, yeah. I know it's different in Orthodoxy because in Orthodoxy you can't be canonized as a saint without being in the Orthodox Church. They don't do that for anybody outside the church.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, my view of canonization is that it is actually, going back to our earlier discussion about judgment, I think one of the big reasons why I'm against canonization is because I think it is violating what I understand Christ's meaning when he said, "Judge not." I think that it is claiming, it's an earthly authority claiming the power that we should reserve for God. Judging someone to be in heaven as a certainty, rather than reserving that for God's judgment alone.
Yeah, that's a area that I need to read up on more, because I'm curious where that practice started at. If it is pre-Christ, or if that practice started after Christ.
I would think long after Christ, but I don't know. I don't know. When was the first saint canonized? Like, officially, when did the first canonization
Catholics began formally canonizing saints with the first papal canonization of Saint Udalaric in 993 by Pope John the 18th.
So
it's about 1,000 years after.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because saints are mentioned in the Bible, right? But I believe they have a different context,
right?
Than like an official canonized saint in the Catholic Church.
But I mean, even before that, the veneration of martyrs was a thing, absolutely,
common,
even before canonization. So,
I mean, I don't have a problem with the presumption that, I mean, I presume that Charlie is in heaven right now. God rest his soul.
Yep. But going back to the original question, yes, I would consider him a martyr. I don't know if you guys watched Mark O'Driscoll's video shortly after. He worded it pretty well. Obviously, he preached a lot of the gospel during his debates and whatnot, and kind of get into like an emotional aspect, at least for me. Him being assassinated kind of hit deep because he was a Christian and the values that he stood for. I didn't agree with everything, but just him being publicly executed like he was kind of hit home for me, and I would say a lot of people as well. So, I mean, I know I'm getting into the emotional gay aspect of it, but yeah.
No, you're totally fine there. I agree with that, because you know, he held beliefs that, again, as we saw with that Jubilee video, I think it was Jubilee, whatever that debate was, that he holds a lot of the same Christian foundational beliefs that we do, and these people laugh and clap when they say that his daughter should be removed from him, which is utterly tragic. We saw the exact same. It didn't get any worse or any better after they publicly executed him, after he was assassinated, because you'll see the same types of people cheering on his death, being glad, being happy that he's removed, because they viewed him as evil, as the enemy. He was in the way because he was effective at what he was doing, right? And at the core of that, what was guiding his principles was, I believe, his Christian beliefs.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and even through our disagreements there, but I still believe that those were at the foundation of his beliefs. Now, when it comes to martyrs in the current day, I think it is important to remember that I think it was Tertullian in like the 2nd, 3rd century saying that the blood of the martyrs are the seeds of the church. Meaning, and it's very important to remember that the first 3 centuries of Christianity were extreme martyrdom and extreme persecution, where hundreds of thousands of Christians were martyred by the Romans or wherever they happened to be preaching at the time, kicked out, stoned by Jews, stoned by whoever it was they were preaching against, right? So I think that we in the West, especially, as the faith has kind of died out and hollowed out in some ways, and we've seen it shift further left, that it doesn't feel as real, I guess. It doesn't feel like, because in the Bible it says like, oh, you're going to be persecuted, you're going to be hated, you're going to be mocked, all of these things. But to us in the West, it's been incredibly cushy, incredibly simple to be a Christian. And I think that we might actually see within our lifetimes the return of mainstream persecution of Christians. And that is actually not a bad sign for us, right? That is part of our job, right? It's not up to us to, dilly-dally, whether we get a nice cushy life like our grandfathers might have had or our great-grandfathers might have had. It's up to us to represent Christ in the good and the bad times.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's already begun in many ways. I mean, saying that you're a Christian can have so many purely cultural implications and connotations that that won't necessarily get you ostracized from the get-go. But then try articulating any true Christian beliefs, then yeah, you'll get kicked out. You'll get demonetized from YouTube. You'll get pushed out of your workplace. I mean, so it's already begun, but it is small potatoes in comparison to certainly what the early church is going through and what might be around the corner.
I don't know if you clarified, like, as far as Christianity being cushy in the day of age, did you clarify it was just the West, or?
I was specifically Western because we do want to talk about modern Christians around the world that are getting persecuted. Is it, well, you can look at the Christians in Gaza. There is one church left. There is, I believe there is one church left still standing, and they said that they're not leaving, and Israel has said, we don't care. So there will probably be a time where there are 0 churches in Gaza because they are all leveled by the IDF, and I don't know how you could construe that as anything other than persecution of the Christians that are living there, and attempting to spread the word in perhaps one of the most war-torn, leveled areas of the world right now. You could say the same in some cases in Ukraine with the Orthodox Church, because Ukraine has been attempting to co-opt a lot of the churches over there, and same with Russia with the Orthodox Church. There's a lot of political shenanigans that get up to Christians in the East, and the wars and stuff that are going on over there. There's another, it's an African country, I want to say, where 3,500 Christians this year have been killed specifically. Is it the Republic of Congo?
I think it's the Congo, yeah.
It is the Congo where people are being killed explicitly for being Christians there. Kidnappings, murders, rapes for their faith. So again, in the West, this sort of thing is shocking.
Yes.
But for other people, churches being broken into, burned down, people taken, abducted, murders, and stuff like that are more commonplace.
Yeah. I think 50% of over 50% of Christian martyrdom has happened in the past century compared to the entirety since Christ has done his ministry. And it's hard to account for, millions of people dying, obviously, but I mean, I don't even know where you could account. I mean, maybe the Holland door possibly, but I don't even know. Yeah.
What is the source for that? Because that's very interesting, Christian.
I'll have to look it up and send it to you real quick. But I've seen.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with again, in the West, we're so decadent and we don't really look outside. We don't really look outside of the West all that much. Whatever, if it's not happening in America or like the UK, it's like almost doesn't exist at all to Western politics or to Western Christians, basically. So it's only now that we're kind of even noticing this sort of stuff that's happening around the rest of the world. But the explosion of Christianity in places like China and in places like Africa, where there are more Protestants in Africa than there are in America at this point. And so that's where a lot of this persecution is taking place, but it is out of sight, out of mind.
Yep. Yeah, how messed up is that?
Okay. So multiple sources confirm that more than half of all Christian martyrdom has occurred in the past 100 years, according to a study by the Center Study for the Study of Global Christianity at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary. Over half of the estimated 70 million Christian martyrs throughout history died in the 20th century, mostly under fascist and communist regimes.
Well, I was going to say the Bolshevik Revolution, where they starved how many millions of their own people? 30 to 60 million of their own people that were predominantly Christian. And that's
Orthodox
again
Christian,
in the East, yeah. Well, which is why I think, the Kirk assassination is impossible to hide from.
Yeah.
Right? Broadcast 4K HD around the world instantaneously. And a person with millions of followers and influence over a huge swath of people, right?
Yeah. Shadow was a good point too, not to mention China as well. Right. Yeah, all the people they killed.
Well, so China's a funny one too, because if you go back, there was a century where Orthodox Christians converted the majority of China between 600 and 700, and then the next dynasty came in and basically wiped them all out.
Yeah. Jeez.
So Japan had a pretty similar.
China was a Christian nation at one point, which is wild to think about because it was 1,300 years ago. But
what were you going to say about Japan, James?
It just had a similar crescendo where you had a major influx of Christianity, and then they were all kicked out.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of martyrdom, there is an interesting question that comes up, because the early church had a problem as well, where they started to, because of the veneration of martyrs, they became almost too pro-martyrdom, where they would make fun of people and ostracize people for avoiding being martyred, for conniving or running away when the Romans came to town looking for Christians. And the persecution in the early Roman Empire can be exaggerated. It was an interesting kind of persecution. Left-wing historians will often they will try to argue that it wasn't nearly as significant as Christians make it out to be, but I think it's a rather disingenuous argument. Basically, they'll say that it was, yes, officially condemned, but it wasn't really enforced very strongly, and you will see many instances of this where governors just didn't care, and then if there was an issue, then yeah, they would go in and they would quash the Christians. But in general, it wasn't like, it was kind of like don't ask, don't tell, and so, there's some truth in that. However, there were still, I think vast majority of the first popes were all executed, in large part because of, if you're going to be officially against a religion, then of course you go after the leaders of the religion, even if you're not going after all of the believers. But there are still all kinds of Christians. You don't want to diminish that at all. So even just looking at it objectively, it was an incredibly serious persecution, and you can't really downplay it. You also don't want to overly exaggerate it, but Christians did tend to idolize, or they tended to uphold martyrdom as being a good in and of itself, and so that plays into the modern question of pacifism and whether or not it is okay to exercise the right of self-defense. There are missionaries who have gone to places that were extremely dangerous and very intentionally did not take any kind of weapons, and they basically went in planning to be martyred if that's what it came to. And there's something extremely brave and admirable about that, certainly in that line of work. But yeah, I have a lot of questions about, I'm just curious what you guys think about self-defense and, should we seek to be martyred, or in the case of an active quashing of Christian beliefs, should you fight back, or should you just accept it and, be dragged out into the middle of the Colosseum and hope that that is a good witness for the other people? Because there were instances, when we have documented instances of people being converted. I believe either Origen or perhaps Justin Martyr, one of the early church fathers, not that Origen is a church father, but one of the early writers in the church was converted largely on because of his experience watching Christians be so brave in their martyrdom, and that just had a big impact on him. So it certainly does have an impact on people, and the Tertullian's quote is correct, that the blood of the martyrs does spread the gospel. But anyway, so just throwing that question out there, what do you guys think about martyrdom in general in terms of and how it relates to self-defense?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's pretty undeniable in the early church. 11 out of the 12 apostles martyred, right? And it it's weird to say, but it was like part of the culture. It's almost like an expected thing, your persecution, which we couldn't even imagine here right now.
No.
Paul says, for me, to live is Christ and to die is gain, right? And somebody who also was killed in Rome, right? Now, as far as that, martyrdom is one of the most powerful tools that a Christian can have. Whereas self-defense, it is a weird thing to give up your right to self-defense for Christ, right? So, for instance, like, let's just put out a hypothetical world in which the modern day Gestapo or the brown shirts are coming to get you, right? Whatever you want to call it, and you can die in a shootout, or you can go willingly, like, singing a hymn or something like that. You know, that one of those things is probably a little bit more powerful about changing minds. And I think, to your point, I believe there was a Roman centurion named Cornelius who, as he was commanded to persecute Christians, actually ended up joining them and getting killed himself.
Right.
Because of their what he saw in them, right? So I think that, again, it's we would all like to be the self-defense Rambo guy that protects everybody, but I think there is a time to lay down your life. You know?
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that we should lay down and let these evil, deranged psychos rule over society because of some vague nicety or some vague, like, well, to stand up to evil would be really mean or something. Like, I'm not saying that, but there are very specific circumstances in which martyrdom is commanded of you, and it is your role to play, and you should pray for the bravery that your forefathers in Christianity had. And it's not an easy thing, but there are specific scenarios where you have to do that. And there are other times where you're called to pick up arms for your country, for your family, for your faith, right?
And for yourself.
Yeah, and for yourself as well, of course.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Christian?
I don't know, man. This is something that I'd have to really put some thought into, I think, on my own. But I mean, I think... I mean, I feel like I've, at least personally, displayed courage of standing up for what's right, especially during COVID. I'm just using a personal example as far as being questioned about doing things and just like disclosing vaccination status and whatnot, and standing up for what I believe is right and doing it in a non-violent manner, I suppose. Maybe it's a bad comparison, but it's just, I think it depends on context, really. But something I'd have to think about. I don't think I have a good answer for you right now.
Well,
yeah,
right.
I'm not
saying you don't need to be a martyr for your local crackhead when he asks for your wallet, right? you know, it's like, no, you have a family to get back to.
It depends on the context, yeah. Like,
I'm
single.
You gotta make a prudential decision.
Yeah. I'm single, don't have a family, so yeah, I'd probably be more inclined to, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, to go back to Christian persecution for a second, like the burning of the temple in 70 AD during the Jewish revolts of, I think it was started in 64, 65, something like that. But they killed a third of everyone in Israel. Yeah. So they killed a lot of people there, and a lot of those people were Christians, right? So, I mean, and that was, some of those people were also fighting. Some of them were martyrs. Some of them were just murdered for, vaguely being supportive of the rebellion or whatnot. So, I mean, it is a very complex issue, but I think there is a time and a place for all things. And I'm not saying that the time that we're in right now is like, okay, everybody lay down and get martyred.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
No.
Yeah. No, I think that's about where I'm at. I mean, I think that pacifism is an untenable position. Morally,
it's not biblical either.
I don't think it's biblical. I don't think that you can hold that as a universal rule, but I think that sometimes you have to make the prudential decision, and there are times where your best witness is to lay down your life, and possibly even as a family, right? Because that's a situation that martyrs are often in, where it's not just you. You don't get to make that personal decision, but it's your whole family, and sometimes that is the best decision to make in that moment. But there are other times where No, you absolutely should fight, and you're justified in doing so. And I mean, to me, I don't know how exegetically correct this view is, but what I go back to when it comes to justifying the right to self-defense and the defense of others, up to and including deadly force, is Christ's example. The one example that Christ uses, the one display of violence that Christ exemplifies, is when he sees the temple being corrupted. And we know from Paul's writing that our bodies are the new temple in this New Testament, and so we do have a duty and obligation to protect this temple from being violated, and the same goes for the bodies of our loved ones, and that includes our neighbor. And so I think that is a justification for self-defense, and I think that you see it exemplified in Christ's actions and in the one display in the Gospels of Christ being violent. You see it in a way that I think we can model.
I think Jake makes a good point too here as well. Like even like the Crusades, like going to fight Islam to, save Europe. That's 100% a noble cause of violence.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that that may be called upon again in the not so near future of Islam's invasion into the West, for sure. But I think that there is a second example of Christ advocating for fighting when he tells his disciples,
strap on your sword.
But also if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. Yeah. And then there's also another one where he is saying, if this were my world, like I would fight for it. Like he is saying that he would commit violence. Obviously that wasn't his plan. His plan for redemption of the world was to give up his life, right, as a sacrifice for all of us. Speaking of that, if that were not my plan, I would fight, basically. Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I think that verse was famously used by it was a World War I hero who got the Medal of Honor, and he originally was a religious. He wanted to get out. He wanted to not serve.
It's like Sergeant York or something.
Yeah, it's Sergeant York, and that verse is actually the verse that convinced him.
It's a great movie.
Is if this were my world, I would fight for it, and then he pulls away his religious exemption for it, and so he does go to actually fight.
Yeah, Jake brings up another good point. Christ did use violence, going into the temple, flipping all the tables and whatnot. Did he hurt anyone in doing so? No. So I guess that's another aspect in using violence in a different way, where you don't physically harm anyone, but make a point through violence.
He did chase people out with a whip, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Lots of people injured in that.
They didn't kill anyone, but
it doesn't say that nobody got hurt. Or
that's a fair point.
Podnamic says, now can he do that because he's God and it's his place, or are we supposed to follow that as created beings? I think we're supposed to follow his example. That would be my guess. Even unto death, as Christ himself did. So yes, we are to follow his example. Yeah.
Well, we're about 2 hours in. You guys want to go over one more thing or call it?
Well, we can save the stuff for next week if that works for you guys.
Yeah, no, that works.
Yeah, no, I think it's been a good conversation, and it's good to remember the life of a good man.
Yep.
And,
I liked going over the Jubilee clip. I think it brought a little bit more of a positive light on the good things he did do. So
100%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, that video had 34 million views, so it's undeniable his effect that he had on people.
Absolutely.
It's very hard to be both a great man and a good man, right? There's a lot of great men who have had a great impact on the world, but you couldn't say about them that they were good men. Mm-hmm. It's much more rare to find a great man who is also a good man, a good, loving father,
good person,
faithful husband, and very often you get one or the other. So
that's why I was bringing the emotional aspect in it, because I feel like it was one of our own that wasn't even extreme in his beliefs.
His greatest sin was not being far enough right. That was like our complaints while he was alive, basically, or at least mine. So that's Yeah. As Reformed says, yeah, I don't think, I think that his tragic death, his sad death, has enshrined his voice.
Yeah, he created things that are going to outlast him. I mean, I hope Turning Point continues. I hope it continues to have a large impact. I don't know that it will without him. I mean, to me, he was Turning Point.
Many such cases, yes.
I hope Ben Shapiro doesn't take it over.
Well, Ben Shapiro claiming the day after that I'll pick up the microphone when I'm like, well, you really can't be the figurehead of the Christian community here because you're not Christian. So,
yep, sorry, bud.
No, indeed.
You're kind of locked off from that one, bud.
Yeah.
Now here for an ad break for My Pillow Sheets or whatever.
Birch Gold.
Birch Gold. You too can start investing for your future.
Oh, jeez.
Use code Facts Don't Care About Your Feelings.
Unless he converts, yeah.
Well, I think that's a good place to call it, guys.
Yes, sir.
I've really enjoyed this, and thanks to everyone who's been watching. We appreciate you, and yeah, we got to pick up the torch and carry on.
Yep.
We'll be back next week with more fun topics. We're putting out a few clips during the week. If you want to just check into those, give them a like. Feel free to comment, and I do get into long comment debates with mostly atheists at this point.
I enjoy following up on those.
They're quite fun. I really like them. I put a lot of work into my responses. I had someone quip at the end of his reply to one of my. It was really one of my relatively shorter replies, but he was like, "Brevity is the soul of wit." And I was like, "Well, okay, but."
You're like, damn. getting roasted.
I made
by
it as
people
short as
comments.
I could. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I gotta tell you, man, it never works out. I always think that I'm gonna get the upper hand and I'm gonna win, and then they just retard a retort. Sorry, something that's just some quick one-liner, and I'm like, oh, that was a waste of time and energy, man.
I know.
Me.
I will say, I think that if you go back and look through the different videos we put out, especially the ones where the atheists will jump in, but even a few comment debates that I've had with some Catholics and Orthodox, there have been some pretty productive conversations. I mean, I feel like my YouTube comment debates are more interesting than anyone else's that I've ever seen. So that's
not to
probably
toot your own horn.
Yeah, exactly.
There is actually something to be said about a written debate.
Exactly.
Because written debates are interesting because there's no weaseling, right? So doing a written response debate is interesting.
So I think they're fun, and they're at least entertaining, if nothing else. And usually it ends up just being ad hominem from the other person, and I try to give like a reasoned response, but it's all good.
Indeed.
Congratulations, or I'm sorry for you.
Yeah,
read all that.
I didn't read all that.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, Christ is indeed King, gentlemen, and I hope
Amen.
you guys have a wonderful night. God bless. Pray for your families, pray for your nation, and with all that out of the way, gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. God bless.
Thanks, guys.